Good morning. I'm John Ellsworth, founder of Success Strategies Incorporated and the creator of the Success Strategies Advantage. And I want to welcome you to this morning's video. I'm entitling this Avoiding the Gap. And during a recent conversation with a client of mine who had been fairly successful the last 2 years in spite of the industry downturn, I thought it was interesting. We got talking about some of their achievements, which were really quite positive. And as I said, in spite or despite the last 4 years of downturn in the dairy industry, his results were quite strong. As a matter of fact, they were over $500,000 net income each of the last 2 years. His results were really good, and this was true in both 2017 and 2018 when a lot of people were losing money in his same industry. And in comparison to 2015 and 2016, when they'd lost over $1 million per year in each of those 2 years, I thought this was quite an improvement. I actually started with them in the middle of 2016, and we made some changes. Now, granted, their cash flow, like everyone's, has been tighter than what we'd like to see, but all operations, that's been the case. But this change from the 15-16 time era to the 2017-2018 time period was a positive improvement of about $1.5 million of net income per year. Now, I thought that was pretty good, but one thing he mentioned to me is the progress just seems so slow. And I went, wow. Well, it has been slow, but I got to thinking about that, and I thought about how we made those changes for this client, and they implemented the changes as I coached them through it. But we did the completion of a debt restructure, which was very positive. We increased their milk production per cow about 10% while keeping their costs in line. And significantly, due to some changes we made in the efficiency of labor, we were able to decrease our labor costs in spite of labor costs per hour or per man going up during the same time period. But as I said, we kept all the other costs pretty much in line, and again, they made over $500,000 each of the last 2 years. Now, I think this brought me to thinking a little further about a concept called the gap. This actually was developed by my business coach, Dan Sullivan, at the Strategic Coach, and what Dan points out is that we need to be careful. Even when we're making positive progress in our business or our other aspects of our life, we need to be careful what we're measuring against. We need to always make a point of measuring against where we started, not some ideal in the future. Now, I would caution you to be careful. It's perfectly fine and acceptable and highly commendable to shoot for the ideal. In this case, this gentleman wanted to make $2 to $3 million a year. That's fabulous. You should shoot for the ideal, but we need to measure our progress not against the attainment of that ideal, but rather do the comparison of our current results with where we began. So in this case, $1 million loss per year or $1 million plus to $500,000. I'm not saying that's perfect. That's the best we can do. But perhaps it was during this downturn. I'd say it was quite an accomplishment. But the important thing is, don't beat yourself up by looking against the ideal of making, for example, $2 million a year. Measure your results currently against where we started. Because to give you an example, as Dan points out, measuring against the ideal is kind of like starting a 20-mile walk. And instead of looking back to measure how far you've come, you look at the horizon. And when you're looking at the horizon, it's out there. And other than the scenery changing nearby, the horizon seems to just keep moving farther and farther out. And that's why we got to be careful not to measure against that ideal or the horizon, if you will, in his example, but rather measure against where we started, how far we've come. It'll keep you more encouraged, and it'll keep it in perspective. And most importantly, it'll minimize your frustration. And so hopefully you found this discussion helpful. I want to point out that we have a mastermind session for dairy producers coming up on July 19th. The sign-up deadline is approaching quickly. By the time you see this video, it'll only be several weeks away, and that is June 15th. For a discounted rate, it's actually June 1st. So that's approaching quickly, and I want to point out also the space is limited. We're only allowing 20 producers per session, and so I would urge you to sign up today for the Success Strategies Mastermind series. And if you look at the website listed above me, successstrategies.com, if you go to our homepage, go about halfway down, you'll see a video there with me doing a presentation to tell you about the concept of masterminds and what we're going to be doing in those sessions. I would encourage you to check it out today. Again, I'm John Ellsworth, founder of Success Strategies Incorporated and the creator of the Success Strategies Advantage, and I thank you very much for tuning in today. Thank you.